Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for attending. We're really excited today to talk to you. I've got myself, Austin Culp, as well as Vanessa Van Arsdale from Zoom. And we're going to be talking today about optimizing conversations. So really strategies for peak chatbot performance. We've done a good series of webinars here, but I think this is our capstone one, if I'm not mistaken, on this one. And upcoming, we do have another webinar InflowCX does on January 23rd about, mastering the contact center as a service transition. So, there's a lot of pandemic induced decisions that people made out there when the world changed. And now we're having to rethink the way that we did some of those things. And so that's what January 23rd is about. But I'm really excited to walk through, peak chatbot performance today. What we're going to go through is just really high level, 3-4 minutes tops on who InflowCX is. Everyone knows Zoom, but at that point, I will pass it over to Vanessa to talk about strategies for peak chatbot performance. A little bit of a tongue twister for me, but we're going to talk about analytics, coaching, playbook. Plenty of time for Q&A. If you've got questions during the session, please feel free to throw them in the session, and then certainly at the end we'll have plenty of time there. Without further ado, we will jump on in. So InflowCX, we're an organization that helps companies evolve their contact center strategy overall, right? So whether that is evaluating where you're at today, evaluating new technologies out there, we take a very vendor neutral, vendor agnostic approach to CX tech evaluation, BPO strategies, labor strategies, operational effectiveness, you name it. If it's in contact center or CX, we've got some expertise there. But in addition to helping you evaluate, technology and your operation, just what you're doing, from an operational standpoint, we can also deploy and optimize contact center and CX technology. So you can have the best, software in the world. However, if it's not deployed appropriately and you don't have a very good optimization plan for once it's live over time, you're going to end up with a lot of the same problems that you had on your old tech, just now with potentially bigger bill, potentially different bill, and a lot more questions from leadership, right? So we help people avoid that by focusing on business outcomes. We've got, over 100 employees, have done over 500 contact center installs, and have, several other things that we're great and accomplish at. We have customers all over the board, right? Because we are so narrowly focused on contact center and customer experience, we can apply that knowledge across just a multitude of industries. So whether you're a tech firm or, a real estate and services company or a healthcare organization, we very likely have helped a customer very similar to you accomplish things that maybe you're trying to accomplish. And so, we work with leading brands all across the organization, as small as, startups and all the way up to some of the great logos you see here on this slide. This space is very crowded, right? If you think about 10 years ago, it wasn't so crowded. You've got contact center, you've got UCaaS, and you've got this broader CX ecosystem. Navigating this on your own can be very daunting, right? I joke all the time, and it's not really a joke, it's the truth, but I say it a bit tongue in cheek in that, every time I turn around, there's another .ai company out there, right? And if you're tasked with leading an organization and figuring out, CX or contact center or anything, knowing where to start can be half the battle, right? And so you think of Inflow as a guide that knows everyone on this slide and plenty of more organizations out there. Once we know who you are and what you're trying to accomplish, can certainly align you with a technology partner that will be there to meet your needs today and then evolve with you over time. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my great friend Ness here to talk about peak chatbot performance and strategies around that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Austin. And perfect introduction, because what this is going to entail is I'm going to give you permission today for what the real world of automating these customer service tasks looks like, what a real project looks like, and what you should expect when you're paying these SOWs and for professional services or consulting from fantastic partners like InflowCX. And you can expect these recommendations to be given to you from a partner like InflowCX, and you should also use it as your measuring stick for when you're evaluating different partners to implement. If they're not offering you these types of takeaways or documentations and next steps, then they may not be the right partner or the bang worth your buck. So a little bit about me for anyone who doesn't know from the previous podcast. I am Vanessa Van Arsdale, and I started out my career as a customer service agent, and I had an amazing boss who saw our potential. I was also terrible on the phones. So she and I automated my job away. And when I did that, I really saw like the potential that automating these old school customer service tasks could do to elevate some of these just gems that are inside of the call center who just haven't been given the opportunities or who just didn't ever think you could automate that. That eventually transitioned into web forms, which eventually transitioned into bots, robotic processing agents behind the scene, which then led me to the wonderful world of chatbots. I was working for a startup, Solvi. We were acquired by Zoom about 2 years ago. And here I am working in Zoomland. So I have a lot of experience, and my little claim to fame is that Project Voice nominated myself and a coworker for Innovative Women in Technology for our work when we revamped Zoom's own chatbot from one platform to another. So, and it saves $3 million in payroll expenses every week. So,
Wow.
without further ado, so to start off the conversation, I wanted to see how many participants here have a chat bot that you actually manage currently. That will inform me of kind of where you guys are at, and then I'll tailor my recommendations and examples to if you don't have a chat bot and you're looking to see like what is this long-term relationship going to look like, or if you currently are managing a chat bot and you either overwhelmed or not sure of next steps because it's not working, I'll give you some tips and tricks for what to do. Okay, so you've launched your chatbot, and now what? Well, first things first, it's probably going crazy. One of my chatbots, infamously, I had a little design flaw that looked really terrible in a screenshot. And when we launched, sure thing, customer screenshotted it and tweeted it to my
Oof.
customer's profile. So,
Nothing like a public dragging.
yes, but it's important because that's a little bit different with chatbots versus IVRs or phones. Think about like phones. Like people can say they had a terrible experience on phone, they can say your phone call dropped, whatever. They can't screenshot it and tweet it. The world of the chatbot is just so much more visual and tactical and like the internet, like it's forever out there. So that's why you need a partner to help you launch. So in your post launch, your partner should, or yourself, if you don't have the budget to have a partner, they should give you 3 things to take away from. And they should also be helping you to maybe you have a managed services contract, so they're going to be truly managing the bot long term, but they should be giving you the tools and kind of like teaching you how to fish, to have the conversations with your executives and to be thinking strategically. That's done by 3 things. The first is analytics. The second is how to coach your bot and get it more accurate and resolving faster. And then the third, which I think is the most important, is a playbook. You can call it many different things, but the general term is playbook. And that is, we couldn't do it in this first scope of work, but here it is moving forward. Or here are some of the things we wanted to do, but due to policy or data restrictions, have you not, these are some things we couldn't do right now, but we want to do in the future that you can then start thinking about as your bot matures. Okay, analytics. The most important thing, a chatbot is quite literally put there to replicate a human. When it replicates the human, it should be saving your customers time or providing them a very tailored experience. Most of the time, it's time. that is determined with a self-service rate. There's different terms for it: containment rate, deflection rate. How successful is your bot at answering questions? It should be able to, when you designed it, you should have looked at your top ticket drivers that we've talked about before. You should have localized it so it speaks to the correct audience and age segment, and it's in the right language to address these top ticket drivers. So for example, we're that 1 month past Christmas, so all the returns are coming back. Bots are fantastic at returns. So you look at your return volume last year, maybe 50% of your tickets were returns that had to be solved by a human ticket. Now you're going to look at your bot, and your analytics should be set up so you can see the intent of returns, and then measuring, is your bot answering that 70% of the time, and has that total ticket volume for returns dramatically dropped? And without having exact examples, when you really look through a process, you can tell, it's kind of organic, especially if you've been in customer service. You kind of know, for example, Amazon returns, right? They're so easy. We all know it. 100% rate, right? Like, do you ever really have to talk to a human with the Amazon returns? So when you're looking at those analytics, you would have expected that maybe 90% of the time, like an Amazon chatbot should be able to answer it. But for other things, maybe it's lower. The second is, most chatbots have this idea of frequently asked questions. For example, what is your return policy? That's just an answer. Versus, I want to return this. Please help me return this. So you want to look at that. A consulting partner like Inflow, like Zoom's technology, will give you ideas as to, if are people looking up the return policy, then getting stuck or dropping off because you haven't thought about that they need to then return the item, and so you didn't tell the bot to help them keep returning. So it's really important for you to look through those journeys. Do you know why they're going to one or the other? Also, what type of customer is still submitting tickets? I have one right now where part of their customer, actually it's one with Inflow that we're working on. We know that there's a portion of their customers, about 30%, are mom and pop owned businesses. They love to just call their person. They have a person at this company. They just love to call that person. They're probably checking on other things than their ticket. So we already started planning and putting into our playbook, hey, that those mom and pop, that 30%, they're not going to change overnight. Just because you launched a chatbot does not mean they're going to use it. Mm-hmm. So really keep looking at, how are we getting that 30%? Are we reducing it week by week? Is there better strategies or incentives we can use? And working through there. And lastly, this one is painful. It's painful for me to do. It will be painful for you to do. Whatever. It's like professional sports athletes watching their own film. You need to look at your chatbot, go get your transcripts, and read through how people are actually using this chatbot. And you would be surprised. It's well documented. Humans interact with bots much differently than they do with other humans. For example, if they're chatting on the same chat platform, they know that there's a real human on the other side. They will use different vocab, sentence structure, and expectations than with a bot, if they know that the bot is on the other side. So read through them, start categorizing and finding ways. And like I said, it's painful, but you need to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. The second one, coaching. You should have a coaching plan in place. So like I said, these bots, they're here to replace humans. You have quality assurance processes and or products in place to ensure that your human agents have good quality. And you're gonna have to do the same with the bot, except for it will be a lot less effort. And the solution that you pick the bot should have a technology in it that if it can categorize and recognize items that customers are asking that it doesn't know how to answer. For example, let's go back to our return example. A lot of times around this time of year, my e-commerce customers will come back and say, the bot is suggesting that we do something with the return knowledge base article because it says that it thinks that this is the right article. It's giving the return policy response, but people are typing not helpful. They're clicking that wrong answer button. So that's when we start looking through and figuring out like, okay, well, do those customers want to then return, or are they past the return date? And so people don't like that. So you need to come up with something, and the bot should give you that idea. And also with languages, um, there is fantastic machine translated, well, not machine, it is machine translated, but sometimes it doesn't come across right. And so you'll have to look at it and just see like maybe the way that this bot flow or maybe this knowledge article is getting translated is just very confusing. And that's why it's getting a low volume. So you'll have to either train the chat bot differently or adjust the article, or maybe even if this is not a language you speak, what I've seen before is that other languages, they may have pseudonyms for product names and stuff like that that you didn't even think of that couldn't even be translated. So you just need to add them into your bot. And the third one, oops, which is where I'll spend most of the time on. And if you have any questions, please let me know because I'm very passionate about this. I got this idea when I purchased a bot solution for when I was in my old role. We were choosing between two vendors, and one vendor actually gave us like a mini playbook before the deal was even done because they just knew like the dream we had, Austin, was
Yeah.
far away. Uh, but it was so helpful for me because then I could bring it to my executives as because it was like a 5-year long transformation. And so the playbook is basically some sort of collection of documents and decisions. It can be a PowerPoint or Google slide. It can be a Excel or a sheet. It can be even just a drive of different types of documents that show the different types of decisions you've made, the
Mhm.
data that you used behind it. It's really this home base that you as the customer get to take away at the end of the day. If you're self-managing your bot and you would like a raise, I would suggest you create a playbook for the bot you manage in your company.
Yeah.
Um, and then
That
that way, if you were to get promoted or leave, the team knows your strategy.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's because a lot of times, we learn from our past mistakes, right? And a lot of times we meet customers, and I know we're talking about bots today, but like with an IVR, it's the same thing, right? We meet people all the time who come to us and say, I just started here and I know everything's broken, but I don't know what it actually is. I have no semblance of what's going on here. And so we help them create this for the IVR. And so it's really good that you're already thinking forward when it comes to bots of you gotta have some sort of semblance of what you've built, what you're trying to build, to give everyone, not just you, but everyone some sanity check sometimes on stuff.
Yes. And sometimes too, remember, if especially this is important if you have never had a chat bot in your organization for your customers, I promise you, people act differently with chatbots. So in this playbook, you should have like, let's go back to that return thing, right? Well, we don't want to automate returns because that could quite literally kill our business if there was a use case we didn't think of, and then now people find this loophole in our bot.
Mhm.
So I'm going to just show them the policy. So in the playbook, it would have ideal solution, you know, refunds of this type or for this customer or for this product would be automated, estimated cost savings, estimated volumes, and whatnot. Then it would have kind of backtrack today. we can't do that today because of the risks, so and so, legal, finance, whoever said we can't do it.
Mhm.
I've written a lot of chatbot playbooks where it said Karen from legal
Yeah.
said no, which is good, which is fine. And then that way it gives you a thing where you can send it out there. And then if an executive sees it as like, why do we spend this money on a chatbot and all it's showing is this answer? You have the documentation, you have the plan to say, yes, we know we're doing iterations. So we're getting our customers used to a chatbot. We have plans to fully automate this. These are the risks. Here's the stakeholders and whatnot. And you just boom, no questions.
Yeah.
Another thing is with marketing, naming a chatbot. I cannot tell you how many internal fights I have mediated over what the chatbot name is. In your playbook, it should have, if this is a contentious thing, it should have the list of potential names, the name you chose, who finally made it, who made that decision, and whatnot. We had a situation where in one of the bots we launched, we thought we did enough research to make sure that none of their competitors had any sort of bots or AI with this name. Sure as heck, we go to launch that bad boy, and somebody says, our competitors, little avatar, whatever, is named this. It's like, oh, darn it. Again, all of this should be in your playbook. So that way, when marketing comes or whoever comes, you have the answers. You have the other options you can choose from. So in that real example, we then said, okay, we have to change it right away. Here's our other options. Boom, change it in. It was maybe 15 minutes. So, and again, like InflowCX, they give playbooks for all of their chatbot deployments. You should be expecting this from a professional and experienced customer experience consulting firm. If you are not getting one, that should give you a red flag. That do these people really know what they're doing, or are they just order takers? And I'm giving the orders. So I hope that this is helpful to you. Gives you some ideas of what to expect. And I think we have one last question.
Yeah, yeah. I think if you do have any questions, do please feel free to chime them in. But I know we've got at least one that I saw come in. And so Ness, the question from an audience member is how many hours per week should they be working on their chatbot?
That's a really good question. So what I would recommend is one, your chatbot should be less hours to manage than your human talent. If you are spending more hours than you did in your quality assurance platform listening to your agent's phone calls, something's wrong.
Mhm.
Either you don't have the right strategy. For example, maybe you have a very progressive chatbot, but you have a very, or not very, you have a much older audience.
Mhm.
And so it is not connecting. Now they're even more confused because I've actually seen this where we named a bot with a real human name instead of like like another a non-human name.
Yep.
And this customer base like thought this was a real person, and so they just got so confused. They didn't
Okay.
understand. Tickets went through the roof. So again, we just had the wrong strategy. So I would recommend at least an hour a week just to check in on the analytics, see how it's going, making sure nothing's crazy. Um, you can also hire people like Inflow. You can hire them to manage your chatbot for you, and then they should be providing you a list of suggestions, what things are working, what things are not working. But at least an hour, I would say, per week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we see that all the time with customers, right? Very similar to the IVR point I made earlier
Yeah.
is the technology is amazing, right? There's amazing chatbot technology out there. However, it certainly is not a set it and forget it thing, right? It's just like you can't go to the gym one time and then expect
Yes.
to stay sculpted forever, right? Or
Yes.
whatever other analogy you want to use. It's
I'm going to
something you
steal
got
that.
to do every single day and be intentional about.
Exactly. Another great example is we launched this chatbot for um a very expensive stair manufacturer. They made custom stairs.
Hmm.
And in my head, being a millennial, I was like, the chatbot was supposed to be for support for the
Hmm.
order once you ordered your stairs. But in my head, I was like, I bet you there are interior designers who are trying to figure out what type of stairs and just need like a ballpark to
Hmm.
evaluate if like this company, because they had a specific design, if this company would be in the running for their design or if they would have to just go with, you know, other design options. And that's a perfect use case for a bot, but it wasn't within the scope. So that's a great example of like what you're saying, like with the gym and like forever going. It turns out that we we were right. And it wasn't just interior designers, it was actually general contractors too.
Oh, wow.
Just trying to get like some budgetary estimates, like when they're bringing in the stair, when the designer comes in with this and says, I want to use these, they were having questions. So it actually ended up being that bot was for support, but actually ended up being a lot for pre-sales.
We're able to expand your uses. Yeah, we see that often too, right? We see, hey, we think we should be automating these use cases, and that's great, but very few organizations, I would say today, and hopefully that changes. That's why we're here, are proactively looking for additional things that chatbot could help out with. And I'm assuming, Ness, you're the expert, but that probably all starts with reporting and analytics and looking at some of those things, right?
It does. And in that case with the stairs, we actually didn't have, and that's sometimes it's very valuable to also have a third party platform or third party to help you because in that case, it was very contentious. But we didn't have any data because they didn't have a chatbot. All of the general contractors loved to call in. So we had no idea that they would even try a chat box. I mean, they wouldn't even email, but
Hmm.
all of a sudden they started using this chatbot. And then the interior designers, they weren't even coming. Like they were just kind of looking, or maybe they had done a project before, so they just knew a kind of thing. But once they saw that chatbot on there and that they could get a truer estimate, they started using it. So it does start with the data, but don't be afraid either of trying something. If you launch this chatbot and all of a sudden you see like this example where you see these general contractors and these interior designers like asking for just quotes, to pivot and try to fill that hole because now you do have the data.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, Ness, this was really, really great.
Yeah.
Good questions, good session. And we so appreciate you coming on and
Yeah.
helping educate us and all of our businesses that have attended and in the audience. We really, really appreciate you. Hope you learned something. If you do have any further questions, please feel free to contact Inflow directly. Our contact information is up on the screen here. You can call us, you can contact us, you can use our chat bot, however you see fit. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.